everybody. How is everybody
Hello.
doing?
Good.
Welcome to
Hey,
Trans Gurus
Yeah.
podcast. Now we are not doing live anymore. We're doing post podcast. So um, we were thinking today to talk a little bit about healthcare. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
since we've got quite a lot of specialists around here, then
Mm-hmm.
Rashi, when we talk about healthcare, I mean, you are in the center because of your past, of botched,
yeah.
Right.
and
Very specialized.
you're special. So, would you like to talk about your experience and what went through you? And by the way,
Sure.
Amy is coming a little bit later. Okay.
Okay. So, yeah. Well, hi everyone, and thanks for tuning in to Trans Gurus. I'm not wearing these glasses because I'm trying to be cool. I was a little under the weather this week with an eye infection, so I'm just beginning being able to take the light now on my eyes. So by tomorrow, hopefully, I'll be back to normal. But in regards to healthcare, I think for me, I was really affected, and not only for me, a number of trans women, especially,
Mhm.
went down this road of black market procedures because back in the day, the medical community, a lot of the medical community, was not open
Right.
to treating transgender people
Right.
and providing us with transgender health care. So I did the black market hormones and I also did the black market injections. And I often say rubbing two nickels together to live our truth. And that's what a lot of us trans women did. We didn't have the resources, but we still found a way to make it happen.
Right.
And
Yeah.
unfortunately, some of those ways were really rolling the dice,
Yes.
because there have been trans women that have died from getting the
Yes.
black market injections.
Mm-hmm.
I was fortunate not to die, but I have lived with medical issues, because I went down that road and got the injections that I did. So, at the time, it was kind of the thing to do, rite of passage. A lot of the community wouldn't take you seriously if you didn't go. What we called it, go and get pumped or getting pumped. That was like the street term. And if you didn't get it done, a lot of the community wouldn't take you seriously. Oh, you're not really taking this serious. Because, there's only so much that hormones do. And for some people, hormones do more than hormones do for other people. It depends probably on you as an individual. But I had started with the hormones. And listen, I'm not a doctor or a nurse. So I was basically trying to figure out my dosage, like how much I should take of the injection and the pills and doing all of this black market. I started to see some results, but I felt like it wasn't I wasn't getting enough result. And I would go out and I would see all these trans women with voluptuous bodies and very feminized faces. And I would think, God, like I want that, So it was kind of like the peer pressure too, to be able to, have the voluptuous body and the feminized face, and then also it was a safety issue because it wasn't all about vanity. And no offense to men in dresses, but the less you look like a man in a dress,
Mm.
the easier it is to kind of maneuver in
Oh
society.
yeah.
Even if people know that you're a trans woman, if you're looking the part, people don't get as upset or ruffled, when
Mm-hmm.
you look more the part. So that was another reason I wanted the look. I wanted to be able to match the way I felt on the inside and feel now on the inside with the way I look on the outside.
Yeah.
So I did the injections. Injections are fast results. Oh my God. I went for my face first and I got injected and I went to the mirror and boom, like you see it right away. And I was fine. My face looked beautiful. Uh, and so I said, okay, I did my face a couple times, no, like 3 times. And then I said, okay, everything seems to be fine. Let me start with my body. And I did the face because the face is the first thing people see when you go out into society, unless you're in Saudi Arabia
Ah,
or Iran, but but uh, but or Afghanistan. Now,
oh,
but and shout out to all of those people over there. But here in America, you know, in a lot of the world, when you go out into society, people see your face. That's the first thing they really look at. So I did my face first. Then did my chest. I did my hips and my buttocks. And like I didn't have my horrible reaction until 2 years after I had my face done, about 2 years. So during that time, I was doing the rest of my body. And then I woke up and I had the horrible reaction. And, you know, I think most people know what happened after I had formed all these nodules and lived for many years with a disfigured face. I was blessed to be able to get some corrective surgery when I went on the reality TV show Botched. I got some corrective surgery, but this is an ongoing thing. I sometimes say I feel like I'm a walking time bomb because right now my left breast is starting to act up from the injections. There's an area on my breast that's acting up. You know, I've seen the doctor and I'm taking medication and stuff, but I have a friend that had her black market procedures 30 years ago, and now is when she's getting issues. So
mhm,
it
30,
can be fine initially, but then down the road, it can go haywire. So I shared my story. You know, I did it globally. My story went viral. I was on a lot of different shows. At the time, I had no idea that I would be able to get help, but I did it because I thought if I can do something good with what something bad that happened to me, take something bad and use it to educate people about this sort of thing, then that's a great thing to be able to do. And
mhm,
so, yeah, so the medical for us trans people is so very important. And thankfully, I have some really good doctors now, but it was a journey to get there, you know? They just weren't on board years ago. Ella?
first, let me welcome Jimmy, which is she just joined.
yeah,
We're
Hi,
talking about
Jimmy.
healthcare, and I think it is very important your story for the community and for everybody because you know with all the politics that are going right now, you have to remember when things were not, you know, were hidden from us. We couldn't have it. We're not going to stop having transgender people. You're not going to stop that. They were going to find ways which are very bad for them, you know.
mhm,
Yes.
Thank God. Thank God. I think that we've got you know, a better future because some of these laws have been now going down or not taking effect or so I think that we are slowly, dependently still back towards us. So that's thank God, because we don't want to go back to Stonehenge, you know?
We don't. It's too much blood, sweat, and tears that we older trans have given. And, you know, I was so happy to finally see us getting our rights for them to now have to deal with the backlash and them wanting to take it away. But we're strong and we're resilient. And if we could survive back then when there were no rights, we
Yes,
can now survive and go forward.
absolutely. Um, Bobby, would you like to tell something?
well, yeah, boy, I relate so much with what Rosie said because I was also just self-medicating was all that was available to me for a long time, and you know, while I was doing it, I knew it was risky because there was like Raji was saying, how much, and then your blood levels and all these other stuff, and is what you're getting really what it says it is? And so there were a lot of questions, and in the back of my mind, I was always going, this is really not very smart. And um, but still, I've always been really visible and active in my community. And it was about 10 or 11 years ago, I lose track of time. The University of Louisville School of Medicine got a huge grant from Health and Human Services to develop, and Raji mentioned this, the first LGBTQ plus medical curriculum for med school students. And they didn't want it to be just, we're going to talk about it for a couple of days before you graduate. Well, it was no, they wanted to infuse the healthcare through every course, all 4 years of med school, and they didn't do it to be really trendy or cool. They did it because our healthcare outcomes were horrible in the LGBTQ community. Providers really had no training and nothing. So I was really fortunate to be invited to come in and consult with them to help them develop the trans part of that. And then there were other people from the gay and lesbian community and so forth that were in there. And it was just really, really phenomenal to be a part of that because the, the outshoot of that was that um, we went from a community that had hardly any kind of knowledgeable providers to where it's just really common, and we're just an oasis, and there's no reason to leave here to go get surgery here or there or anything, or overseas. There's no reason to do that because we've really built a wonderful community here. And um, and that's one of the reasons I've gotten so politically active, because you've got these yahoos trying to say they know better, and they're practicing medicine without a license, and they're just trying to blow up everything that we've worked so hard to do. But one of the things I wanted to be sure to mention, and it's a question that I get real frequently, and I imagine it's common with the people that watch this show, is that what's the best health insurance I can get to cover all of this stuff? And that's that's not really the right question, because health insurers only provide employers with what the employer wants their employees to have. And so, for example, I was a state government employee in a very red state, and our insurance was with Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield, and our General Assembly made sure that everything trans was specifically excluded from the health insurance that was available to me as a government employee. Uh, it was a page and a half of exclusions. It's like, don't even think about submitting a claim for counseling or hormones or electrolysis or any kind. It was really, really cruel. Now, the reason I mentioned that, because Anthem Blue Cross is huge. They're all over the place. And one of the big distillers here, Brown Forman, also had Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield for all of their employees, but they understand the value of employees from the LGBTQ community. And so they wanted red carpet coverage that would cover bottom surgery, facial feminism, all that stuff. They wanted that for their employees. So here I am working in the same city where some of the trans people they all have Anthem, but it's excluded, very specifically excluded if you're a government employee. But if you're working for a Fortune 500 company, they understand that to attract talent, they're going to get a lot of people from the LGBT community. And if you offer them healthcare benefits, they're going to become very grateful and very loyal employees. They are going to be happy to work there because you're taking care of them and their families and everything else. So I said all of that to tell people, it's like, don't ask, what insurance do I need? You need to look at what employers do I need to pursue. And the answer to that is the Human Rights Campaign, hrc.org. Remember, that's just 6 letters, hrc.org. That's a human rights campaign, and they keep an index of just all the employers that they know about, and it's become a high honor to get a score of 100 and as an employer with the Human Rights Campaign. And when you see a company has a score of 100, that means that they offer red carpet benefits for their employees. So go to hrc.org and look for the employers, and they're all over the country, and most of them are multinational, and they're all over the world. And what you'll find is all of the big banks, all of the pharmaceutical companies, all the drugstore chains like Walgreens and CVS, Amazon, UPS, all of those big corporations, it's very important to them to attract and recruit employees that are going to be loyal and grateful to be there. And so that it's important to them to score 100 with on this HRC index. And so that's the main thing I want to go tell people is look at employers and because I everybody really, all of these corporations in the Fortune 100 and most of them in the Fortune 500 have gotten this. They understand you want to have talented employees, you got to have the health insurance that they need, and they're happy to do that. And the thing that was real interesting about that is when I got married, my second wife, I was still a government employee. She was working for a hospital, and we both just had kind of so-so insurance that wasn't going to work real well. I mean, it just took care of the basics. If you broke your arm or, got COVID or something like that, you were going to be okay. And anyhow, she was working for a hospital group, and I didn't think that they appreciated her enough. Uh, it was one of the larger hospitals here, and they kind of just treated a lot of employees like you're a dime a dozen, and she wasn't being appreciated for all of this fabulous work she was doing. And so I was trying to talk her into, why did you look someplace else? And so anyhow, we did talk her into moving to one of the pharma's. It's a prescription management kind of firm here, and it was okay insurance, but it was a huge money making prescription management stuff, and it was making so much money that CVS decided they were going to buy him out. And now all of a sudden, here my wife and I, we both had just, mediocre insurance, wasn't going to take care of anything trans. She goes to work for a company, they're not doing anything, but then CVS bought the company and we got new insurance. And I looked at that and it was like everything I could ever imagine. I mean, if you didn't like your legs, they would pay for implants for your calves. I mean, I never heard of such a thing. And it was like, oh, they had all of this glorious stuff that they were happy to pay for. And so it was like, holy smokes. It's like all my life, I thought I was going to have to win the lottery in order to have bottom surgery and a lot of that stuff. And then all of a sudden it was like the door opened and it was there. And it took me a little while to get out of the open enrollment stuff and get out of the state government and become a spouse dependent type on her plan. It took the better part of a year, but it did happen. And then all of a sudden, here I am covered by CVS, and it just paid for everything. And I don't want to throw numbers around because they're scary numbers as far as like if you I had my bottom surgery done at Mount Sinai, and that's in the middle of Manhattan, and they're not cheap. And and when I saw that bill, I said I wasn't going to mention numbers. I don't want to discourage anybody, but uh, it was it was humongous. And but right below it, it said my Anthem Blue Cross was going to pay 100%. And it was like, holy crap, I won the lottery. This late in my life, I won the lottery. And then CBS needed to make a big expansion. They wanted to get in the health insurance world, and they sold this company now they own to McKesson Pharmaceuticals, which was even better. And it was like McKesson is like, oh my gosh, I didn't think it could get any better. But McKesson Pharmaceuticals, they want to, and they're a huge distributor, and so they took really good care of me. But I want to tell you one of the things that really totally surprised me, and this was, again, it points to what a good corporation is willing to do to keep good employees. So um, here I am, just everything I ever wanted. It was like being covered, and I was able to make it happen. But then my wife dies 2 years ago, and it was like, there was no more stuff. And McKesson called me up. Almost, I said, "We're going to take care of you for another year. Don't worry about anything. We're going to keep you on your plan, and nothing's changing." And it was like she was dead. And they wanted to take care of me for a year. Um, and who does that? Who does that? And so that's what I'm saying. It's not what health insurance, it's what company. And to know that, go to hrc.org and look for the corporations that have score 100, and you're surrounded by them. If you live in any kind of urban area or something, your town is flush with companies that are happy to attract employees with your healthcare needs, and they're happy to pay for them. And sometimes it will blow you away what they're willing to do. And see, I wasn't even an employee. I was the spouse of an employee. Now, I want that to sink in. If you're thinking about gender affirming care for your children and all that, it's like, uh, it's divine intervention. That's the only way I know how to put it, because neither one of us had anything when we got married. And before it was all over, it's like everything I'd ever dreamed of was there. And so that's the most important advice I have to give anybody when it comes to healthcare. hrc.org and look for the employers near you that score 100 and start there. So that's it.
Okay. I think that's very good. But you know, it's good to win the lottery. I don't have anything against it. I never won, probably
Yeah,
$2, $3, but that's it. But
yeah, yeah,
but um, yeah, I mean, it's not always necessary to win the lottery to do whatever.
yeah. Well, I know, but that was the way. I mean, I always thought I this will never happen to me unless I win the lottery, and that's how I won it. I I just accidentally connected through divine intervention with a company that was happy to pay for everything we wanted.
Which you always come to the old thing that everything will be there when it has to be there.
Yeah.
Is
Well,
is the divine thing.
yeah.
And those words, I'm going to give it to Jimmy because I'm sure she has got something to say about
Yeah.
divine intervention and healthcare.
So hi everyone, and
Hi.
It's nice to see you.
likewise. So I see what we're talking about here. So, sorry for chiming in late. Um, all the gender affirming care that I have received, I paid for myself, and so in a way, like Bobby, I also won the lottery where um, my my business that I own was able to generate sufficient revenues for me to be uh, self-financed.
Mhm.
I'm listening to Bobby and the good luck that she had with all that. So there's folks that are in Bobby's position, and then there's folks that aren't.
Right.
And so everyone, I think all humans have the same amount of eggs in their baskets, but maybe they're different sizes, different shapes, different colors. Maybe some are in one basket, some are in other baskets. Some baskets may be empty, some baskets may be too full.
Some of
So,
the eggs didn't come from a chicken.
if we just kind of understand and take uh, inventory of what we have, we may not have insurance, but go buy some lottery tickets. Why not? Give it a shot. But uh, I just know that for some folks to be lucky, there needs to be some folks that aren't lucky.
Mhm.
And that's kind of how it works. And the folks that are unlucky with one item may be lucky in another category. So I think we're all lucky and unlucky at the same time, but the categories change.
Mhm.
And so I would say just take inventory of what we have in our resources. And if we have gender affirming procedures that we want done, focus on it. If your insurance doesn't cover it, get another job,
Right.
save money, have a side hustle and start another account and start making deposits and putting money in like a specific account to go towards what you need. And then you never know what the next day is gonna provide too. If you put it out there in the universe that this is what you really, really, really want, and you maintain that thought, and then, as I've said before, get out of our own way and let the universe work behind the scenes to manifest our dreams into a reality. So that's kind of been my story with this whole thing. My insurance doesn't cover anything.
Hmm.
And to be honest with you, I really didn't even look. I paid for it on my own.
Yeah.
And so I think what we're talking about is health insurance and
Mhm.
medical this
Yeah. Just
this
healthcare.
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 Yeah. I just real quickly, I wanted to agree with everything you said, Jim. Um, for over 20 years, I've worked two full-time jobs because until all of that stuff happened, kind of serendipitously, I did have to pay for everything out of my own pocket. Um, and but when it came to something like bottom surgery, it was like, oh, I that's going to be a lot to save up. But I was determined to do it. But you're exactly right. I've had to work two full-time jobs for over 20 years to be able to do a lot of my stuff. But then I never won a lottery. As fact, as far as buying lottery tickets, I've never won more than $4. but but I was just talking about when you get medical bills that are hundreds of thousands of dollars and your employer is going to pay for it. That's what I meant about winning the lottery. And yeah, and 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 that's what is so good about corporate the world now. In Florida and all this other stuff, they're trying to withdraw. If you're on Medicaid, they want to take all that away from you, and they're trying to go after adults now. And it's really vicious because you truly have legislators practicing medicine without a license and mental health without a license, and it's hideous, hideous what they're doing, imposing religious beliefs on all of us, and I know there's a lot of suffering and anxiety going on right now. But anyhow, I'm going to hush.
Yeah, it is absolutely correct. Yeah, but I have to tell my story is a little
Sure.
bit interesting as well because I've been always international, okay? And I started um, my transition many years ago, and then I stopped it. It was so the first time I really started to take hormones was back in the 90s, and they were, of course, some black kind
Hmm.
of hormones. I used to take a lot of, nature type of hormones
Mhm.
to get enhancements, and stuff. And then in the beginning of the 90s, I decided to stop all that and start really. So I went to, in Switzerland. I was living in Switzerland at the time in Zurich, and I went to a counselor and to a psychiatrist, because in Switzerland you needed a psychiatrist to give you the hormones, and the psychiatrist refused to give me hormones. He refused, and I got very, very mad. And I mean, I had a really very bad moment, and then I was rescued by someone, which became my wife. But I just kind of continued to be on the more like a cross-dresser for a long time, until I said I cannot live like that anymore, and I decided to transition. So then I managed to be here in South Florida, and I have to say, we had really great people, really great counselors, really great medicine. When I was self-employed too, so I didn't have a big company or a big corporation to pay for my stuff.
Mhm.
Paid for my stuff myself. Most important for me is just to get the hormones that usually get, but all the surgeries I paid for myself. I never had any, not even a cent from health insurance. And being international, I don't did everything in the United States because two reasons. First of all, I am a little bit skeptical about healthcare in the United States
Mhm. Good for you.
because I've seen in other countries.
Mhm.
And second reason is that the costs in the United States are absolutely astronomical. I mean, absolutely incredible, and really not even better.
Right.
I mean, I did most of the stuff in the United States, that's for sure. I mean, my boobs, my and other things, but my journey, confirmation, my big change. I did it in Thailand.
Sexual reassignment. Yeah.
Did it in Thailand. I had a good friend of mine. We had a wonderful doctor, and the price was actually quite okay. But I just give you an example of American versus foreign.
Yeah.
For that intervention, I had to do a hell of a lot of tests, because the doctors always ask you for the different tests when you go through surgery like that. And one of them was a cardio stress test. So I went to my doctor here in the United States and said, I need a cardio stress test. And she gave me a thing, and she sent me to a cardiologist. I went to the cardiologist and I said, I would like to have a cardio stress test. And he asked me, what for? And I was open. I said, I'm going to make, what do you call it, a surgery. And the doctor, which making the surgery, asked me for this test. He spent 1 hour with me trying to understand what's a transgender person. And then he said, and then he made me what do you call it, a cardio test, a cardiology test, but not a stress test. And then he came to me afterwards, I mean, a week later or something like that. You are perfectly okay. You don't need to have a stress test. So I'm not going to say that you have to do it.
Mm.
So I said, okay, in that case, I'll pay for it. So I went to a thing, and they asked me $1,500 for a stress test. So what did I do? I told my surgeon in um in I told my
Thailand.
surgeon that it was very difficult to get the stress test. here in the United States. And the good doctor in Thailand said, don't worry, you come here, we'll make the stress test here. So 2 days before my surgery, two very nice nurses came and picked me up from the hotel. By the way, the hotel was as well a health hotel, so they had a kind of a, a little kind of a little hospital, and most of the people in that place were going through surgeries or something like that, inclusive all the transgender people, because this doctor, he made probably one pussy a day.
Yeah, it takes a while.
So we had about 15 people from all over the world. I'll come back to that again. So these two nurses took me to the hospital in Thailand, in a beautiful, modern, absolutely gorgeous hospital. And I was there for about 3 hours, and they did all the tests, stress tests, everything. And then in the end, I went to see the doctor. In the same day, that means in about 4 or 5 hours, they had the results of all the tests that they did.
Wow.
Everything together. And so the guy came and they asked me, why are you making all these tests? And the two women explained him in Thai, because I couldn't understand everything, but they were kind of more telling, because I was going to make some surgery and they need that for the surgery. And then he looks at me, you are a transgender?
That was a compliment.
That was quite interesting, And and then he just said, yeah, you are okay, you're absolutely no issue. Have your surgery done, kind of thing. Anyway, we had my surgery done. We had our surgery done. I was there with a friend of mine. And then afterwards, we had all this community of transgender people. We were not walking very much because, we had surgery, but we were next to the swimming pool. We were getting together and talking about. There were girls from Australia, from England, from Germany, from all over the world, and it was really a nice time. Actually, I have to say that. So I mean, there's always a way. You just have
Yeah.
to. I am very happy. But, I think that all these stories have to, people have to understand something. The politicians are not going to end transgender people.
Right.
They will always exist. Why make their life more difficult?
Yeah.
It's only like that. But, with a little bit, I am glad that people are coming back to their, to the real life, and understanding that, we are in America. People are different. America is the melting pot of the world, is the melting pot of societies, all different religions, all different colors of skin, everything.
Right.
And that's what makes America beautiful, and what makes America the greatest country in the world.
Mm.
And I am a proud American. In the meantime, I've become an American, but I am a proud American. But I am proud of that America, which is really plural, everything. I mean, here in South Miami, you speak Portuguese, Spanish, a little bit of English and French, By the way, there's no language in the American Constitution.
You're right.
They wanted to put German, and some people didn't agree with it. Thank
Oh,
God.
yeah. Ben Franklin hated people from Germany. He
But
was very derogatory.
But in the old days, the biggest
Yeah.
part of the American people were German origins.
Yeah.
You go to Texas, It's German and Czechoslovakian. They are, and of course Mexican came afterwards.
Mhm.
But there were, I mean, the history of America is the history of multi people.
Mhm.
So I want to say something. You know what really struck me listening to everyone and also thinking about my story? Um, and Ella, you just said there's a way. And Jimmy, you were talking about how we all have our baskets of eggs. Some might have more than others, and the differences. And Bobby, you sharing your story, and each and every one of us on this panel or on the show, we have different walks of life. We come
Yeah.
from different walks of life, but we're all sitting here as transgender women
Mhm.
today. And somehow we got to where we wanted to get to. Now, I'll give you the example of my face. When I was walking around with a really disfigured face, to even imagine that I could one day be able to afford to have corrective surgery. I mean, you're talking like hundreds of, like at least $100,000. Very, very expensive. And I didn't have the money. And I still didn't have the money when I had the surgery, but I got the surgery because that was my payment for them using my image on the show.
Yeah,
So my point is, I still got what I wanted. Even though I didn't have the money,
right.
cash money to get it, it manifested for me. And that's the power that all of us have and everyone on the planet has. And I think for any trans person that's watching, or for that matter, anyone that's watching that's in a situation that they're not happy about and they have desires and dreams and hopes, remember that. You may look in your basket and there may be a couple eggs and you don't see a possibility of making your dream or your dreams come true. You don't see it. You can't even imagine how it will happen. But believe in it and have that focus and that faith, and universe will make a way. Somehow things will open up, doors will open up. Bobby, you were talking about all of a sudden the doors opened up. After 20 years of working two jobs and you worked your ass off and you still didn't have the
Right.
resources, but guess what? You still got what you wanted because it manifested for you. And what I'm trying to say is that it doesn't matter your situation. Think outside the box and hold on to your dreams and your visions and your goals and the things that you desire. There, where there is a will, there is a way.
Yeah.
Ella,
Never stop believing. I think that is so important.
don't stop believing.
Exactly. Jimmy, would you like to say something?
I know in my journey and my experience, uh, in all things in my life, in all chapters of my book up until this point, things. Uh, I do believe that there is a grand intelligence to all things, where uh, we we may desire something, and our desire is so strong that like we want it now, but our situation won't allow it. So there's going to be a delay. And now I know that as we experience life, uh, things come when we're ready for them.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a, a kindergartner, or that's probably not a good example.
No.
There's a reason that the driver permit for a car is 16 years of age. Your person doesn't have the mental aptitude to control a vehicle. And so that's like one example. So I know in my life, if I would have achieved, uh, if I would have become who I am now anytime prior to that point, I wouldn't have had the management skills or
Yeah.
the wherewithal to manage the person that I have become.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I know for many years I've been in the aviation, a pilot for uh, probably about 20 years or so, and I always wanted a certain kind of aircraft, but it was financially out of reach. And I know if I would have got this specific aircraft before I did, I wouldn't have had the maturity. I wouldn't have had the discipline. It requires a lot of discipline and self management to fly an aircraft. Um, so to, I guess what I'm trying to say is be patient. It takes a lifetime to live a lifetime. If we if we achieved all of our dreams in one day, I think we would explode.
Mhm.
So as our life evolves and unfolds, we experience things in our life in digestible dosages and in sequences and dosages that we can incorporate these new experiences into our psyche. You know, they become part of our embedded in our DNA, so to speak. So you have to just kind of have, uh, like Raji, one way or another, she got what she wanted in a roundabout way.
Yeah.
So how we, excuse me, how we think we're going to achieve a result may not be that method. The universe may have a totally different road for us to go down.
Mhm.
So, you know, hold your dream close, have an idea how you want to achieve this dream, but allow some wiggle room. Life is not a straight line. It's a zigzag. You go 3 steps forward, one back, one to the side. You got to go around a pothole.
Go on topic on the bottom there.
So, uh,
Yeah.
allow the universe some wiggle room in your life plan,
Yeah.
Ella.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to say that's as well the motto of my life. Every day I wake up with saying what is going to be the special thing of the day, because usually there's something special in the day. What do I have to overcome? What am I going to get as a present? Because sometimes you get presents, sometimes the presents are not so good, but at least you get something. Something is not. Sometimes it was not what you're looking for, but sometimes it's even better than what you're looking for. So there's always, every day is a new challenge, and that is the most important thing of the day. And the challenges, to overcome your challenges, is something beautiful. It's absolutely something beautiful. And then you go to bed and say, thank you, I did it. And that is my day. So let's start the finishing talks. You wanna go, Raji?
Okay, sure. Well, I just want to remind people that it is a journey, not a destination. We continue to journey and think about your life. Whenever you desire something, you really want it, and then you finally get it. And like Jimmy was saying, sometimes it takes patience because when the in the moment that you want it, you may not be ready for it. And when I say that, you may get it, and if you get it and you're not ready for it, you won't know how to handle it, and you'll probably lose it. So that whole thing of like preparing yourself for the desire is so important. But it's a journey, not a destination, because the minute we get accomplish that goal or get that thing that we wanted, what do? We start looking for the next thing that we want or setting the next goal because it is the journey, and it's an infinite journey.
Yeah.
So I would just remind people of that. And, you know, I heard this example. I know I'm going to probably screw it up, but like the merry-go-round, not the merry-go-round. on the in the playground, there was the thing that you would spin around, like you get on
Yeah.
it and like spin around. What is it?
I don't know exactly.
We've all been on it.
Yeah, I can't remember the name. Anyway,
Carousel, no? Carousel.
carousel. Okay. Well, if that carousel was going at the fastest speed when you wanted to get on it, you'd probably be thrown off. It's a momentum. You have to get on. Everyone has to get on. And then you build the speed and you build it and you build it. And the same thing with when you want to get off, you have to slow it down to get it off. So that's the thing about manifestation. So
Yeah.
I just want to thank everyone for tuning in. And I'm going to toss it back to Ella.
And I'm going to give it to Bobby.
Oh, thank you. Merry-go-round, is that what we call them?
I think is
Merry-go?
it no, there's another name because the merry-go-round is the one that we ride. But remember in the playground we
Oh,
used to
I
like
know. Oh,
I
yeah,
can't
I know. I know.
I,
Um,
I think we
oh,
call them
but
carousel.
anyhow, what you and Jimmy said just reminded me of something that I really wanted to say is I was 13 years old, 12, 13, somewhere around there, when I was reading the Sunday supplement magazine in the newspaper, and I saw the four words that changed my life, and it was a letter to the editor, and the four words that I learned that day were Christine Jorgensen's sex change, and that was the moment. 12, 13 years old, that was the moment when I first realized I wasn't the only one in the world. And I decided in that moment that that's me, that's what I'm going to do. I will have, well, we don't call it sex change anymore, but I was going to get a sex change. uh, and uh, and I didn't know how. I was living in this poor Appalachian coalfield, little tiny town. No, I didn't know how it's going to happen. What I wanted to encourage people about patience and everything was when I finally did get that bottom surgery, I was 68 years old. I was 55 years between the day I decided, that's me, that's what I will do, and the day all the cosmic tumblers just opened up, and there it was. And I when I talk to teenagers and people that are really suffering right now, I mean, I work in a psychiatric facility, really suffering, and and to tell somebody I had to wait 55 years, that doesn't make the suffering go away. It really doesn't. That makes it worse. Uh, but Jimmy's, you all are so right. If that is your heart's desire, and it's something that is essential to what you want to accomplish before you get to the end of the line, there's going to be a way it's going to happen. But for me, it, and there's a lot of long nights and a lot of ups and downs and suicidal ideation and yada 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 and marriage problems and all that stuff, but I never gave up. I was not going to live with this. I was not going to let what was between my legs be more important than what was between my ears. I just was not going to have that. And yeah, it's like, yeah, you have to be patient. You have to persevere. You have to do all you can, and hopefully nobody's going to have to wait anything close to 55 years, because it's more easily accessible now. But that's how long I waited. So there you go. That was 5 years ago, by the way. So,
Very
and you
good.
look fabulous.
Jimmy.
As I listen to everybody, just the other night I was listening to Steve Harvey, who's a TV person,
yeah,
and it's his Apollo story, and in his
yeah,
he's saying that once you give up, if you never give up, if you never give up, the possibility remains But once you give up, not in a month of Sundays will it ever happen.
Right.
And as I'm listening to Bobby's story, it took 55 years for the planets to line up
Yeah.
because she never gave up. So it, as some people may be in a state of despair or hopelessness, don't give up. If you give up, it'll never happen. Never. Just stay in the game. And these are some of my two most favorite mantras. There's no greater force in the entire universe than that of a human with a determined mind.
Ooh.
And
Absolutely.
the other phrase that I love is the world will step aside and let anyone pass
If you
if you
want
know
to.
the power of direction, the power of vision, the power of discipline, the power of commitment. You know, a lot of folks are, as Zig Ziglar calls it, wandering generalities, folks that don't have a direction in their life. The
Mhm.
folks, vision, direction, a goal set for themselves, or Zig Ziglar likes to call those folks meaningful specifics. But be a meaningful specific. I love you all.
Love
And
you.
with those words, I think we're gonna finish for today. So we are doing our postcards. So I travel a lot. I cannot always do live shows, so we're going to do postcards and then publish it and in YouTube. Thank you for watching. It's really great to be with you, and we are open to any questions. Please come to us, and we're here. Bye. See you soon.
Bye. Love, peace, and
Bye.
blessings.
Bye.
Love you all. So.